Courtney Bjorlin. I'm in the ASUG News Studio, sponsored by NTT Data, and I am joined by Julie Ford from Cristal. Julie and I are going to speak a little bit about a topic that is very relevant nowadays. You cannot open the newspaper or turn on the news without reading about the next security breach and customers' data privacy breaches. And Julie is an expert in security, and we're going to talk a little bit about her tips for ensuring that that does not happen to you. So Julie, I understand security runs in your family.
Yes. My whole family is from National Security Agency as a background, and that's what I grew up with.
So you didn't have a career choice or a different thing that you
I tried to avoid it, but it just found me anyway.
Fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about your presentation was this morning. The title of it was The Network Perimeter is Gone. Is that true? I mean, should we be nervous about that?
Well, historically the perimeter was what everyone relied on. The network, everything that was inside of it was safe. But now we have mobile devices, we have internet access internally, and with all that data coming back and forth, with cloud applications connecting into your system and things going back and forth all the time, if your systems aren't really well secured and really tightly watched, you're going to have to worry about hackers coming in and taking your data.
So what would you say are the biggest threats, internal or external, for many of the companies here today?
Actually, these days it's really 50-50. It used to be very internal. You really had to worry about your employees making a mistake or getting into things they shouldn't have been, or disgruntled employees. But nowadays you also have to worry about hackers coming in and taking your intellectual property, taking your vendor information, your HR information. You really have to be prepared for that. And hardening your SAP systems is now a requirement. It's no longer something that we can just say the network guys have got it covered.
So let's talk about that. What are some of the steps that our members and customers here can take to harden their SAP systems against these attacks?
Well, first off, make sure all of your SAP notes are applied. They're security patches every month. Keep an eye on the security news. Make sure all of that's done. Keep up with your basis notes as well. So it's not just security, because you need to be secured from the internet all the way down to the operating system level, including your database patching, your operating system patching. So that's really the very best thing that you can do. Beyond that, making sure your users only have the access that they really need. Okay. That way, if someone somehow gets their user ID and password, you're not further at risk.
Right. What would you say you see as some of the biggest mistakes people are making around this?
Just not patching. Putting it off and putting it off, going years without doing support packs or patching, and not taking mobile access and mobile projects very seriously from a security perspective. The focus is what the business wants, and not being sure that the business data is protected as well.
So we've had some pretty serious bugs out there this year, Heartbleed, for example.
Yeah.
What can companies take away from that?
Well, Heartbleed was primarily a lack of patching, and if the patching had been done in advance, a lot of the systems that were not at risk were patched regularly. And so that's really the biggest thing to take away from it, is that you need to make sure your security architect looks at everything from the high level all the way down. You can't just be focused on today's project.
Right. So the patching, and not just keeping up with your regular support patches and everything like that, but definitely your basis and everything is really important to ensure that this doesn't happen to your company.
And user education.
Your
users need to understand what's at risk.
Okay. What are some of the best ways to do that, to disseminate and evangelize the importance of this?
Well, every October is Security Awareness Month, and the federal government has all sorts of data out there, all sorts of educational materials out there for free for companies to disseminate across their groups. And so if they can use that as a starting point, then people can understand, don't share your password, change your passwords regularly, etc. And make sure you always know where your mobile phone is.
Right.
Don't leave it anywhere, ever.
Don't trust anyone.
Pretty much.
Well, as it's October, it couldn't be a more perfect time to get that underway. And thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your tips today.
Well, thank you.
For more customer news and stories, please turn to asug.com and asugnews.com, and thank you for watching.